Hey Overcomers, welcome back to Overcoming with Jennifer, my weekly Q&A. Today's question comes from a member of the Facebook group, and she says, almost 14 months post-discard, she's almost 14 months past the discard phase where the narcissist discarded her, and I still have way too much anxiety and way too many bad days, way too isolated, and I'm way too untrusting. And I actually have another question as well from a different member who says, will I feel normal again? And I'm pairing these two together because I think they're related in the language that they use. And that's what I really want to talk about today, is the importance of the words that we choose to describe ourselves and our situation. So the specifics of these statements, talking about, what it is to feel normal, the anxiety, all of the bad days. I address anxiety and those kinds of things in other videos like this. But what I really want to highlight today is the language that is used. And I'm not trying to judge anyone, certainly not trying to shame anyone for the language they're using. But I want to point this out because I think so many of us, myself included, have been we've been victim to this sort of mindset of seeing ourselves as the victim, and of these negative words, which really is negative self-talk. So the words that we put out there in the world to others, that we put in these Facebook comments and questions, that really reflects our inner dialogue, our inner voice, and how we speak to ourselves. So again, without judgment, just out of compassion and empathy, I want to point out some of the words that are used in both of these comments. So, that term post-discard, it's common for us as we're coming out of an abusive relationship to learn, just, put so much effort into learning about narcissism and all these terms: gaslighting, hoovering, discard, projection, all of these things. And it's so important to learn those things, but when they become so much a part of our inner dialogue that we're using those words constantly to describe ourselves, that's where I think it becomes a bit of a problem, and we need to shift our mindset, and we can do that through shifting our language. Our language has so much power. So referring to ourselves as if it's part of our identity, as we are however many months or days or years post-discard, saying we have too much anxiety, too many bad days, we're too isolated, we're too untrusting, we're not normal, when will I feel normal again? These things are all relative. The word normal is relative. Too much anxiety, what's too much anxiety for being just over a year out of what I'm assuming was a horrific, very traumatic relationship, right? So too many bad days, too isolated. There's so much judgment here in this, and I want to encourage you to give yourself grace when you find yourself in this place of judging yourself. So we're not going to judge ourselves further and say, oh, I use that judgmental self-talk, so that's wrong, I need to fix it. No, give yourself grace when you notice this. So, this is a mindful practice of noticing the language we're using. And then we give ourselves grace, and we make an effort to change our language, because that helps change our mindset. In a couple of days, I'm going to give you a really practical exercise to work on this. Last week we talked about mantras, and that's certainly a very big part of the Redefine process, my online group coaching program, the monthly membership program. We talk about mantras because language, like I said, the words that we use affect our mindset. So we really can change our mindset if we change our words. So what I want you to take from this video today is an encouragement to be mindful of the language you're using. If you're using words like discarded to describe yourself, if you're judging yourself, saying you're too much this or too that, or that you're not normal, I want you to pause and notice that, give yourself grace, and think about how you can change the language, change the narrative, because that is going to, over time, affect your mindset. And in a couple of days, I'm going to give you a practical exercise related to addressing this language and our mindset.